And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fairway to Heaven right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow, subscribe, turn notifications on, shout it from the rooftops. You know it. Tell everybody, come to tune in to Fairway to Heaven, the best fantasy and gambling podcast there is, focusing on golf there is in the business. And I'm your host always, Phil Stiefel. We got Jason Sullivan sitting in next to me as always today, and we are here to talk the Travelers Championship, who wins and why, and we might spend a little bit of time talking about Windy winning the U.S. Open this week in dramatic but boring fashion, almost to an extent. Good evening, Jason. How you doing today?
What's up, bud? No, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, if you're a Wyndham Clark fan or better, I'm sure you were pumped yesterday because the dude was just finding his way out of trouble left and right and putting all of his approach shots within like 2 feet, it seemed like. But it's such a boring. I don't know. I just wanted some excitement at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was the lack of a crowd there, like a very small crowd. Maybe it was the LA vibes. I don't know. For US Open, you would think prime time US Open round 3 and round 4 that it would have been more exciting. But I found myself switching towards the end because I kind of knew Windy was winning that thing. There was a new Walking Dead spinoff that started last night, and I was watching that over the final 5 or 6 holes. It was kind of boring last night.
It was kind of boring. And I'm probably going to offend people that if they hear this and they live in California, but I think we just prove over and over and over again, LA is not a sports city. It is not.
Yeah.
And it's probably because a lot of people are transplants there. I get that. But first of all, the course made a huge mistake with selling so many tickets to the members and all that stuff. It's just like, I mean, you didn't really notice the crowd at all over the weekend, except yesterday when, at the last second when they crowded around the greens. But
I didn't even know that many people were on the entire course the entire day.
I mean, like, part of the majors that's so cool, like you think of like Augusta, you think like Tiger making putts and the grandstand's going crazy, or Spieth or whatever it is, and like you didn't have any of that in this tournament until yesterday at the very end. They started showing it a little bit, and you could hear people yelling stuff, but like it wasn't. I don't know, the crowd wasn't even a factor.
It was a very boring, non-existent crowd. I guess to an extent the golf was pretty entertaining. The course was supposed to be super easy or super difficult. It was being talked about that was being played like easy, but realistically the scores were really it didn't turn like the way people were talking it was going to turn into a birdie fest. It didn't, and yet while there were birdies to be had, there were so many mistakes being made. I don't know. I think the course itself did present some pretty interesting challenges to the golfers. I don't know. Like Scotty was at the top, Xander was at the top, Ricky was at the top. It still provided no excitement. You would even as a general a bigger golf fan, you would think I would have been into it, but I wasn't.
Honest to God, too, I think you're right. It seems like the course kind of corrected itself after the first day. I mean, the first day everybody went low and everybody was freaking out, but at the same time, it's like, did the course really play tough, or did the greens just really play tough? Because it seemed to me like a lot of guys were missing a lot of putts, especially yesterday. It's just, I don't know. It just wasn't very exciting. It was just like, oh, Rory's got a 12-foot putt. Oh, it comes up short. Ricky's got a Ricky.
Yeah, and nobody really, like, you want when there's a major championship, like nobody made a run.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like Windy stayed where he was,
right.
and what did he finish at 10 under? Was it 10 or 9 under? Did he finish at 10 under? Like, so somebody could have made a charge. Scotty started yesterday 7 under. Rory started yesterday 9 under. And nobody made a push. Xander made what, like a quadruple bogey at one point yesterday to completely write himself out. Before we talk about Wyndham, because I do want to talk about Wyndham for a second. What do you think about how Ricky Fowler played? Obviously, Ricky Fowler's, I think he's in the field this week. He's not on my list this week.
But I think he's in probably WD, I would imagine.
Yeah, so Ricky Fowler, like we've been saying he's almost back. He's saying he's almost back, saying he's almost back. And then everybody says, well, you don't have to bet Ricky Fowler every single week because he still hasn't fully made it back. Do you think him contending this past week and just not being able to seal the deal again, like he's back, but he's back to old Ricky who can't seal the deal in the big event? Like, does this change your opinion on how to manage Ricky in a betting or DFS standpoint?
I say for a betting standpoint, yes, it does. I don't know how you bet I mean, once in a while, obviously, depending on the field, you can bet Ricky for sure. But I just feel like he's not going to win these elite level tournaments. He contends. This is what he did when he was even in his prime. Like he would contend, but
that's what I'm saying. It looked like his prime all over again.
He just there's just a problem, and I hate to say this because I love Ricky, but he's just not as talented of a golfer as these other guys. He's not. He doesn't hit the ball like Rory. He doesn't. his game's not elite. He doesn't really do anything elite. His around the green game is good. He's good on the greens usually for the most part, but yesterday he could not hit anything, so it was brutal to watch.
So we've been talking about Wyndham Clark for now like 2 seasons on this show almost, and we've both been pretty high on Wyndham Clark eventually breaking through. Now he's got 2 wins, one being the U.S. Open in what, like a 4-week span? Is Wyndham Clark going to be one of those golfers that's a one-time major winner? Or is this a guy that's got enough talent in your mind that he can rattle off quite a run now?
I feel like he has enough talent to rattle off a few. I don't think he's ever going to be elite, quote unquote, but he's always been the ball striker. We've always known that. He's a good iron player. He's really good off the tee. We've known that. Now it seems like his short game is good. So, I mean, like, I was making jokes yesterday, like, oh, Wyndham learned how to putt. Uh-oh. Like, that's what it reminded me of. Like, the guy that was a bomber is now he's not a great putter, but he's a good putter and he's good around the greens. I mean, how many times yesterday were you like, oh my God, he's in trouble? And then he puts his around the green game, he puts the ball 2 feet from the pin. Like, it's
my only concern, because again, I think we talked about before this season started, we talked about Wyndham Clark and KH Lee. They were kind of our guys that we thought were going to take that next level from contending in, weak fields like the John Deere Classic or the Punta Cana, whatever, into the next level. And Wendy's obviously did that. I just don't know if I'm ready to rattle off multiple major wins yet for Wyndham Clark because he wasn't pushed yesterday. Everybody else fell back and nobody actually pushed forward to him. So while he had to still maintain, that's all he had to do. He didn't have to make an aggressive shot on 18. He didn't have to make an aggressive shot on 17 to win the event. So while I do still think very highly of Wyndham Clark, I don't think he was challenged enough for me to for sure say. I see people saying, well, I got to bet him for the Masters. I got to bet him for the PGA. I got to bet him for this and that. I'm not ready to anoint Wyndham Clark in that elite category just yet.
No, and that's a good point. I think you brought it up. Like, he wasn't really challenged. Like, Rory, first of all, he didn't make any birdies, so that was one of the challenges. But, like, the 2 guys that made the runs yesterday, if you watched it, like, Tommy made a run and Cam Smith made a run. Neither one of them were really ever in contention. They were never going to win. They both played awesome yesterday, but they weren't going to win. It's just like he wasn't really challenged to the point of, like, I don't know. I was kind of thinking that during the round last year. Last year at the Open, how Rory was winning and he was, challenged and eventually caught by Cam Smith. It's like he was never really pressured because Rory was making pars, which were great, but he didn't make any birdies. He couldn't make a putt to save his life. So yeah, I wouldn't say like he's going to go on a run. I mean, he's not the skill level of like Morikawa or Hovland or any of those guys. But at the same time, like, could you see him becoming like a Max Homa type? I think so.
Yeah, I think that's great because Max Homa is going to be on the agenda to talk about today, for sure. But I think we're spot on there, and of course Wyndham Clark's in the field this week at another elevated event. Can we please? I'm so tired already of elevated events. I don't even like using the term anymore. Can we make sure there's no elevated events the week after majors? Like, it's just
stupid. It's just, I mean, like, you've seen some of these guys. I mean, like, Shane Lowry comes to mind. Like, he's played, it seems like 12 weeks in a row. Like, it's crazy. I mean, like, if you're going to do these elevated events, maybe spread them out a little bit more throughout the year.
I don't know if Wyndham Clark's, missed one yet this year, but you're only allowed to miss one elevated event a year. And he just won a major. If he's already missed one, he probably doesn't want to miss today. Right. But yet on the flip side, I'm sure he celebrated pretty darn hard after winning the U.S. Open. So it's kind of like a really tough thing. And I'm trying to think back after the PGA Championship. We were talking about it. And after the Masters, we were talking about it. There's always an elevated event after if any of these guys are going to have any hangover. I'm looking at guys that missed the cut. I'm looking at guys this week that didn't contend. You know what I mean? As the guys. What is up, Adam? Yeah, Dustin Johnson. I know you had an outright on Dustin Johnson. I was high on Dustin Johnson in a DraftKings platform or style, and I thought about betting him. I did not pull the trigger.
It looks good through 3, and then just the 4th round, he couldn't make a putt.
Yeah, those live golfers. I mean, a lot of hype with the Masters and PGA. It kind of settled down this week. Then, like, even with all the big other PIF and PGA Tour merger conversation, it almost seemed like the live guys were just part of the guys again this week. It almost felt like there was no rivalry or beef on the course anymore. I saw Brooks and Rory like chumming it up at one point. I don't know if it was on the course or
parking lot. It was in the parking lot.
Yeah, like I was like, like it's almost like that's completely moved on.
I just don't like. I mean, I know he wasn't the only one this week, but I don't like Brooks how he does that with the whole like, oh yeah, he got second at the Masters. I choked.
Yeah.
He wins the PGA. Okay, I played great. He doesn't play quite as well. He was never a factor this week. Oh, I hate the course. It's
Yeah.
like I don't know. Hatton always does that too. It's like whenever he plays bad, he hates the course. It's like really
It's the course's fault.
right.
Yeah, I'll say that the mini golf course that I played today, it was the course's fault. Why I had all those triple bogeys on my card. It wasn't my putting stroke that did it. It was the putt course.
And to me, it seemed like that was a course that actually fit him pretty well. I mean, his game, like how he's been playing lately, it seemed like it would fit him pretty well. He was just a non-factor.
All right, so let's look at this week. We've got the Travelers Championship, TPC River Highlands. It's another one of those shorter Pete Dye courses, but it's one of those courses where I think it ranks in the top 5 or 6 most course suitability. You know, that phrase there, where if you've played here well before, you're probably going to play well again here, you know, this year. It's a course that people play. I mean, even though it's an elevated event, it wasn't last year, and it still turned out, you know, a huge crowd for this event. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking it's a shorter Pete Dye course, but also just with the way golfers are playing anymore, I don't think I think too much because it's an elevated event and the way these golfers are playing more. Like, I'm not worried about it being a short course or a long course. I'm not worried about a Pete Dye course versus something else. I'm just worried about who's in pristine form week to week anymore. I kind of feel like that's how we now have to judge with all these deeper fields. You know, who's the best tee to green guy? Who's the best putter? Who's the best off the tee? And that's pretty much all you have to worry about, you know, anymore with these courses.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, you're seeing like Scotty's obviously the extreme example in that, but like he didn't even play well. Yes, like he didn't even play well at the U.S. Open and another top 5. Like the guy is just automatic top 5. It seems like imagine if like yesterday he didn't putt necessarily bad, but he just couldn't get his game going. Like he just couldn't quite get in gear, and like you still look at it, still third.
Yeah, is that what he finished at, 3rd or 4th or whatever? Yeah. I mean, he's now had a third, second, 5th. That's his last 5 events, and he's been bad. He actually gained strokes putting this week, which is kind of insane.
It seems too like
it's almost like everyone's like, if he just breaks even, he's going to win everything.
Right.
I think that's what I said last week. I'm like, if he just breaks even putting, he's going to win by like 10 strokes. He actually gained a stroke putting, and he still lost the event.
Well, it shows too. Like I don't know if you watched a lot over the weekend, but I felt like C+, B- game for him. Like it wasn't his A game, anywhere near his A game.
No, and he still dominated off the tee. Still dominated tee to green. So this week with this event, obviously elevated. You've got 5 guys. I think it's 5 guys here. Let me resort here. You have 5 guys, 10K and above. You got Scotty number 1. You got Rory back into the number 2 slot. You know, it's so funny. Rory has a good U.S. Open, so he bumps above John Rahm, and then who made the cut but didn't really do much this weekend. Xander, who fell apart on the weekend, and Patrick Cantlay, who, you know, he probably backdoored his way into, you know, a decent finishing position this week. Actually, no, he fell to 14th. Wow, I thought he backdoored in the top 10 and ended up being only 14th place. Right. But still, like, you got a really deep top end of your board, and we just made the case for Scotty Scheffler. Even with his C+ game, he finished in 3rd place. Except
didn't his price go down too, Scotty Scheffler's? Wasn't he 11-4 last week?
11-4 last week. Rory was 99 last week, and he's up to 10-8 this week. For some reason, even though I'm like a Scotty Scheffler type guy, because 5th place is a guarantee, I almost want to stay away from Scotty Scheffler this week. And I'm just leaning towards, because early projected ownership, and you know I don't care about ownership projections, but early projected ownership has John Rahm at 10.7%. Now, I expect it to go up a little bit, but everyone's leaning Scotty, everyone's leaning Rory, this might be the week that John Rahm, who played terribly last week, but he still made the cut. He's still one of the best golfers in the world, obviously. And he still finished. He backdoored into the top 10 at the U.S. Open.
He still finished 10th.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't even think I saw like 2 shots of him the whole week.
As bad as he played last week, he still finished 10th place. Yeah. So I'm kind of like heavily leaning towards my one guy in the top tier being John Rahm this week.
Me too, actually. So he's also really good on short courses, which I love that. He's actually number 1 in DK points on short courses in the field right now. So this seems like the kind of course that he's just going to eat up. I mean, I know a lot of the guys are, but like Rahm's my favorite play over 10K too.
Okay. What about the other guys, Xander and Cantlay, who, you know, had decent weekends, just not great. Xander, we talk about this being a, you know, of course, if you've played before well, you do well. He obviously won this event last year. He also has a top 20 the time before that he played. Patrick Cantley's a top 15 monster on this course. Has played here phenomenally. Do you like either of those guys, or are you sticking to just because I'm kind of feeling that the 9K range, the 8K range, there's enough question marks on where to play it that I might just want to go super, super heavy with John Rahm, 15 out of 20, 17 out of 20 lineups, and then pepper that 7K range with some different guys to kind of mix it up, that I could probably skip the rest of this top tier range.
I was thinking the same thing too, because if you look down at the 9K, like you said, like Hovland, Finau, Morikawa, like Fleetwood, they're all appealing plays to me. So I feel like, I don't know. I don't have a ton of love for the above guys, the above 10K guys. I feel like Xander, I always worry when guys like are right there and then they don't win. Like Ricky, like Xander, like some of these guys that were even like Rory, like you expend so much energy and then you don't win. It's like such a letdown to get back up again for the next week. I know these guys are studs, but like the only guy I have faith in really that, well, I guess there's two of them, Scotty and Rahm, like that I have faith in that they're going to be good every week or, that they can bounce back. But the rest of them, I would rather play Hovland than any of those guys, to be honest with you. I know Cantley's going to get tons of ownership. His course history is good, but like if you look at it, no higher than T11. Like, I mean, I know that's still good, but
I mean, right now he's projected around 19%. He's the highest guy. Actually, is he the highest guy? No, Russell Henley is projected higher than him currently. But outside of that, he's the highest owned guy of the realistic contenders, so to say. Does Patrick Cantley ever win a big event anyway? No.
He doesn't, but he's better on easier events. He does better. I think he's there's a stat. I think he's never won.
Consider this an easy event?
Not an easy event, but I consider it an easy course for sure. It's a loaded field, but like it's going to be a birdie fest.
I'm trying to think because it's going to be a birdie fest. I'm trying to think of what his average, like, is he a guy that can get to 20 under? You know what I mean? Like,
I think, I don't want to be wrong, but I think he's never won a tournament before that the winning score was low or higher than plus or minus 14. So everything's been birdie fest pretty much that he's won.
See, I could see. So out of all these guys, even if you want to count Victor Hovland at 9,900 in this group, because I do think he's slightly underpriced at 9,900 there, the top 6 guys, who's going to be the guy that's most likely to score 20? Like, I think you could win this event if you get to 20 under. To me, John Rahm's the guy that, to me, can shoot 20 under at a blink of an eye.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. I mean, like we said too, like if you want to go into the 9K range, even starting your lineups in the 9K range, like I have a lot of faith in those guys too. Hovland's been really good. Morikawa played decent last week. I mean,
in the 9K range. So first and foremost, I'm just writing Ricky Fowler and Wyndham Clark out. Like, I don't know about you, but just to me, playing in the final round of the U.S. Open, one winning, the other one choking again. Like, to me, they're both 100% fades, and that could totally bite me in the ass. It really could, but to me, that's it. I'm torn on Tommy Fleetwood, and we'll get to him in a second. But Victor Hovland, great play. You already said it with Colin Morikawa, played decently. Tony Finau, I don't know what's up with Tony Finau right now. Like, he was trending up so much, and like I was waiting for him to be the guy that wins a major this year, and he's just kind of like stuck in the mud, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's just been okay.
Exactly. He's just been. We always said, when's he going to win? And he started winning, and now all of a sudden he's just okay. But Tommy Fleetwood, if there's a guy, like if you looked up Pete Dye course specialist in the dictionary, Tommy Fleetwood would be one of the pictures you would see. And yet I told myself before last week, I'm done. I'm never playing. I'm never betting. I'm just off. It's like a drug, Tommy Fleetwood. I always psych myself up that Tommy Fleetwood's going to win finally. And then he comes close. And obviously I had a lot invested in him when he lost in the playoff a couple of weeks ago. And that broke my heart again. But yet it's a Pete Dye course. Tommy Fleetwood's one of the top projected owned guys this week. He had a really decent week at the U.S. Open. He's playing great. I think he's got like 5 or 6 top 10s this year. Everything says go back to the well on Tommy Fleetwood. He's only 22 to 1 on DraftKings outright. I think it's easy to skip the 22 to 1 odds on him. If he was like 40 to 1 or something, maybe I could convince myself. But I'm having trouble convincing myself to not play Tommy Fleetwood on DraftKings.
Do you worry about him being able to score enough birdies?
Oh, absolutely. And that's another one
in the field and birdie or better. Like that's rough.
Yeah, like I'm looking at 5th at the US Open, 2nd obviously at the RBC. He had the missed cut, then 18th, 5th, 15th, 33rd, 3rd. He's played a lot of tough courses and he's done well.
For me, he's a tough course guy though, more so than an easy course guy. Like I don't have faith he could score 20 under. You know what I mean?
I think it's a fair point. I think it's a fair reason. Like like to me, like I get why you like Victor Hovland this week, and I could get behind that 100%. But I can make the case that if I'm not playing Tommy Fleetwood, I might not play a single guy in the 9K range.
Yeah, I can see that too.
If I'm going to load up on John Rahm, maybe sprinkle a little Scotty Scheffler into my card, then a little bit of the 8K, and then in the 7K is the only way I'll be able to build balanced lineups.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And I think, I don't know, Tommy's just, to me, is a tough course guy. He's a grinder. He's a guy that can go low 1 or 2 days.
I'm having trouble remembering. Like, this is a Pete Dye course.
Right.
But yet it's an easy, like a scoreable course.
Yeah,
like it's a 6,800-yard course, but yet, like when you think of Pete Dye, you think of grinder courses, positional off the tee.
You missed the fairway, you're screwed.
Yeah, exactly. So why is this course such a birdie fest then? Like that's what I'm really struggling to grapple with here.
Like if you look at the stats on this course, like this course is easy for greens and regulations. It's easy around the green. Scrambling numbers are high here. It's just like even driving accuracy, like you think like this course would be a driving accuracy course. Well, it's very easy to hit the fairways here. So it's weird. I don't know. I agree with you. It's strange.
Real quick, I want to shout out my man Mike. Mike's a supporter of all the shows that we do here, and Mike gave me a box of books. He lives in Charleston, South Carolina. I got a box of books from him, local Charleston books. This one's called Edmonton's Oast Brewing, Bound by Time. Edmonds Oast Brewery.
No, what's the beer called?
Bound by Time.
Bound by Time.
He sent me a 12-pack of beer just because he likes our work here. So I told him I would crack one of them open here live on the show. It's called Bound by Time.
Immediate friend.
It's very hoppy, but it's very tasty, just so you know. I love books like that. If anybody wants to send me a box, he has to tell the post office it's a box of books. That's what he's shipping because you can't ship beer. So this box of books he sent me, Mike, I appreciate it. Appreciate it greatly. Anybody else wants to send me books? I love IPA books, so just so you know. But anyway, back to this. So I wanted to say that like if you're going to not play Hovland, you could hypothetically skip this 9K, and there's a reason too. And I want to get it. You mentioned his name earlier, and again, he's a grinder, tough course kind of guy. But Max Homa, I mean, he shit the bed this weekend, obviously. At the U.S. Open, missed the cut. Me, like everybody else, had future bets on Max Homa from months ago, that we were hoping that would hit. But he's not as bad as he's played. Like, he's missed 2 cuts in his last 5 events, had finished 55th at the PGA. He's not that bad. He's not as bad. He lost 1.2 strokes tee to green, 2.5 around the green. He can't be that bad of a golfer, can he? And the fact that he's projected under 5% ownership, like, tell me he's a bad golfer right now and to avoid that 5% ownership thing. Because right now, I want to click his name second to John Rahm as the most.
Don't do it.
Why?
He's off. He just doesn't look like he has it right now. Like he had that like swagger going for a while of like confidence. He just does not look like a confident golfer right now. Like
could he be a case where he's just worn out?
I don't know. He's so young. I don't know. I wonder about it. It's weird with him and with JT as well. It's just like these guys have so much talent, and they both look lost right now on the golf course.
Like I think I could get behind JT looking lost. Like JT's a multi-time major winner. Max Homa. I still think it's in him. I do. Like
he's not in him for sure.
Yeah. Like
it's just wild. Speaking of JT, do you know that he's 65-1 this week?
I know, and I want to play JT.
I know. I saw it. I'm like, I gotta click it. I'm like, no, he's terrible. I can't.
Max Homa's projected right now at 4.6 ownership. Justin Thomas right now is at 1.5 projected ownership.
Both are gonna go up just because of their name.
I mean, it's gonna go up because of the name.
Yeah.
But seriously, like they're both. See, the problem I'm having is JT to me might be going through one of those deep Jordan Spieth type slumps.
Right. Exactly.
Max Homa, I just think is in a rut and just might. I don't think he's going to become the next Ricky Fowler, Max Homa, and fall completely out of the top 150 in golf. I think Max Homa just needs 1 week. Except the only thing that I would say, just like Fleetwood, this is not for grinders. This is for birdie makers. While Homa makes birdies, can Max Homa win an event at 20 under? I don't think so.
The only thing that makes me, well, not the only thing. There's a lot of things that make me not want to play those guys. But like, if you look underneath them, like I'd rather play Hideki, who's cheaper. I'd rather play Thagala, who's cheaper. I'd rather play Lowry. I'd rather play Tom Kim. I'd rather play Siwoo Kim, who's a really good Pete Dye course guy. Like and those guys are all significantly cheaper.
Yeah. So, they're also significantly cheaper, and they also have more of a upside right now with how they're playing. I love
for sure.
Kim. Siwoo Kim is a guy that's just flown under the radar this year and had a really hell of a season. Like I really don't know, like, why nobody's talking about Siwoo. Everybody's talking about Tom Kim.
Right.
And Tom Kim had a great weekend overall, big picture at the US Open. But so did Siwoo Kim. No one's talking about Siwoo Kim. In my mind, at 8K, there's a reason why he's the third projected highest owned guy. Because at 8K, you could have bumped him up to 85, 86, something like that. And lessened people's usage on him big time.
Yeah, especially with being a Pete Dye course. Like, the guy's just a Pete Dye specialist. Like, no, he's definitely been really good too. And I was off him last week only because his ownership was so high. Like, I just don't like playing guys that are 15, 16, 17% owned when they're 73K.
Right. Well, I mean, I had a little bit of exposure to Siwoo Kim. I wanted to bring up, you mentioned Tagala. Tagala's got 2 second place finishes last year. His best finish this year is he's got a 4th and a 5th this year. Sahith Tagala is going to win an event. Can he? I think that's the crux of this week when we're discussing these guys. Can Tagala go low enough on the scorecard? And I think Tagala is in that Wyndham Clark ascending golfer that this is a week that he could crack through and get the win. I mean, he's 65-1. I'd rather lay my bet on Tagala 65-1 than Justin Thomas 65.
100%. I actually did. Segue.
Congratulations. We'll give you a round of applause for that one. So did I. I already did it as well. But when I went and clicked on Tagala 65-1, I'm like, oh, there's Justin Thomas there too.
I know. JT was like right below him. I'm like,
I'm getting like a finger itch to click.
Yeah.
I resisted that urge. I really did. But Tagala could win this event, right?
Oh, he definitely can. I mean, in second here last year, like you said, he's been playing really good golf. The guy can putt. Like, the guy's just a good putter. And like, I usually like him on harder courses too, but I mean, obviously, was he T2 last year here? So he obviously likes this course too. So
yeah, tournament history last year, first place Xander, Tagala, and JT Poston tied for second. Hadley was in 5th. Yeah, Kisner. I mean, you look at last year's top 10. There's no big. I mean, you had Xander, a big name, but then you had Tagala, Poston, Hadley, Kisner, Harmon, Hardy, Reeve, Stallings. That was your top 10.
But the field also wasn't nearly as strong either.
But it was strong. Scheffler was outside the top 10.
I mean,
Campbell was outside the top 10. Finau, Rory was in this field. He finished tied 19th. Let me look down this list a little bit more here.
Rory actually does not have good course history here at all.
Rory does not have good course history here at all. Well, I mean,
not terrible, but
no top 10s. We'll say in the last 5 years. All right, let's get into the 7K range because I think there's some interesting names in the 7K range. First and foremost, not saying he's a play for me, but could we give a round of applause for Team No Putt Keegan Bradley playing miniature golf on Sunday at the U.S. Open?
The best part was, did you see him lining up the putts? That was awesome. I'm not a Keegan Bradley fan at all, but that was really funny.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love the Keegan out with the kids playing minute. Like, what professional golfer ends up having to take their kid to a miniature golf on Father's Day when you just missed the cut and play miniature? Like, everything lined up there. I thought it was a great story. I thought it was a great picture. There's a lot of people that don't like Keegan. I think it was a good image thing for him, but I kind of want to like Keegan. Like, I kind of do.
He's becoming more likable. I feel like, I don't know. I definitely like him more than I used to like him. He's an interesting question this week too, because he's been pretty decent. I actually played him a decent amount last week, and he missed the cut. But he has good course history. Well, I should say good but spotty course history here.
Right.
So it's very weird.
Here, Keegan.
So T19, cut, T2, yeah.
Yeah, so it's either boom or bust with him.
A miscut or a top 10, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, where's his ownerships projected right now? 8%. I mean, I could get behind. I mean, again, these ownership percentage, it's Monday at 4 o'clock or 8 o'clock, There's so much can change in the next couple of days.
Well, and I think this range, like you said, like Henley's going to get a lot of ownership. I bet Harris English gets a lot of ownership. Minwoo Lee's going to get a lot because he's been good lately. Like, I could see Keegan going under the radar.
Keegan's actually not even been that good for a while. Since his 10th place at the Arnold Palmer, well, actually the week before, he missed the cut at the Genesis, missed the cut at the Players, 23rd at the Masters, and he went 48th, 35th, 29th, 30th, missed cut. He doesn't have a top 20 since the Arnold Palmer. And he's only got one other top 20 this calendar year. Keegan Bradley's had a pretty soft year this year.
Yeah, it hasn't been great.
He's
like we said,
off of him.
He's surrounded by, I mean, like, guys in this range that are going to get a lot of ownership: Harmon, McCarthy.
So Harmon,
Louis.
I know we're going to talk Harmon because Harmon's got great course history and stuff. Early numbers, Harris English is only at 10% on fantasynational.com. Make sure you check them out. Fantasynational.com. They got him at 9.4% right now. And I see that going up.
Yeah.
But what would be your limit? Like, I like Harris English's game for a shorter course like this. I don't know if he could go 20 under to win the event, but he's definitely talented enough to get to 10 or 12 under.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's your ownership projection got to be like on Harris English? Like, is 12% too much? I think 15% is too much, but 12, 13, is he still a play in that range?
I don't even think 15 is too much, to be honest with you. Like, if he gets to like 18, 19, then I'd probably shy away from it. But
well, didn't he won this event? He finished in that like eight-day playoff against Kramer Hickok.
Somebody was talking about the playoff, and then they were like, "Oh, the one that lasted like 8 days." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that one."
It literally went like 8, and I think that was one of my like. It's just one of those weird rules. I hate courses where the playoff it's sudden death, but it's always the 18th hole at this event. So they just keep playing, and Hickok and English they just kept,
especially
Wood into the middle of the fairway.
Especially if it's an easy hole, you're just like, this is so boring. Like, if it's only 18, make it a really hard hole. Then.
Yeah, like do something, or one of them just go for the win. They both were just playing not to lose, and it just went on and on and on. But on the flip side, I still like Harris English this week. What else? What else are you looking at before we get to Brian Harmon? Any of the other top end guys in the 7K range that you like?
I like McCarthy a lot. I just feel like when he's on, like he's been really good, and he's actually probably better at easier courses too. But I just like the way he's been playing lately. I mean, T20 at the U.S. Open, second at the Memorial. He's just been solid. And I feel like I'm going to roll with the confidence in that one. Corey Connors is interesting to me because I think he can tear apart this course. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I like a lot of guys in the lower range too.
Okay, well, in the top end, so I do like Benny On. Benny On's been a very solid golfer this year. Cool. So he's been playing really well. Steven Yeager is a name that kind of interests me for a weird so his recent. He hasn't missed a cut since the RBC Heritage in April, but he's gone 24th. He didn't play the U.S. Open. 24th at the Memorial, 68th at the Charles Schwab, 50th at the PGA, 11th at Byron Nelson, 27th, 18th. Missed cut, 27th. He's played really well. And like Steven Yeager was a guy just like even a couple weeks ago that was 6,800, 6,500. He's gotten like a massive price bump to 7,500. And I see people talking about him. I see people talking about betting him to win this event. I don't know. Like when a guy finally gets that price bump, like I kind of like it because that price jump's going to keep a lot of people off of him. So Yeager's a name that I'm really zoning in on because you could probably be very different than everybody else if you got him. And he's a guy that, like I said, has only missed one cut in the last like 3 months.
Yeah, so, he's definitely solid. The only thing I worry about him is in an event like this is upside. Like, do we really think? I mean, I know like 24th at the Memorial, 11th at the Byron Nelson, but if you look at a lot of his other finishes, like 68 Charles Schwab, 50th at the PGA, like he doesn't have like that elite finish. You know what I mean?
That's fine, and I get that. But so at 5%, like he's projected at 7,500, if you do a lineup. And again, maybe this is my mistake because we were talking before the air or we went live on the air that I had so many 6-for-6 lineups with guys in the top 50. You know what I mean? But not enough lineups with multiple guys in the top 5. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe I don't look at the upside enough on these guys because Yeager's a guy that I would pick. But yet again, last week I had 1 6-for-6 with not one guy inside the top 40. And that's not going to win you anything either. You know what I mean? So maybe I got to look for more upside in guys. And maybe these guys further down, Aaron Rye, Brian Harmon, Eric Cole, Austin Eckroat, maybe these guys give you more winning upside.
I think they do. I mean, you just named the last two you named are probably my two favorites, Eckroat and Cole. I mean, Cole is turning into like a really, really good golfer. I know he kind of sucked over the weekend a little bit, especially Sunday, but like this dude is just like competing in these tough field events, easy events. It doesn't matter. I mean, he's a really good golfer.
Eric Cole, Cole strikes me as the guy that if he does not win this year on tour, that he'll be my pick next year to be the Wyndham Clark or KH Lee of the PGA Tour next year.
Can you just see him though, like being like a fall guy that just wins like 3 fall events?
Yep. Absolutely. That's what KH Lee and Wyndham Clark used to be. Yeah. Guys that win weak fields. I can see Eric Cole being that guy. I like him a lot. You know what? And I know we always joke with Kyle because Kyle's always commenting on the show about Justin Suh, but Justin Suh is another guy. 7,200, finished in the top 30 at the U.S. Open. 41st, 16th. He's got a couple top 10s this year. He's got a couple made cuts where he finished outside the top 60 as well. But I kind of feel like he can go low enough to make the $7,200 price tag, pretty worthwhile in my opinion. And he's a really good putter as well, Justin Sue.
Yeah, he has been, especially lately, he's been really good. I like that play a lot too. Aaron Rye's the one that it's tough. It's like with Aaron Rye, it's like you kind of want to play him, but like I don't know about you, but every time I play Rye, I get it wrong. So
yeah, Aaron Rye is in the same category as, before the season started, Aaron Rye and Sahith Theegala, like in my mind, were the exact same person. Young up and comers that were both going to win multiple times on tour. Neither have won this year, but Theegala is obviously trended much faster up than Aaron Rye. I want to like Aaron Rye this week, but again, like I'm looking at it, he finished third at the RBC Canadian, obviously, but he had 4 missed cuts out of the previous 5 events before that. And I would have bet if you would have said, I'll give you 10-1 on your money that he, or even money that he doesn't miss 4 cuts this year, I would have taken that bet in a heartbeat. For sure. He's missed 5, 6. He's missed 6 cuts this calendar year, but 4 of them were in the last 6 weeks.
Do you like or dislike that he wears 2 gloves?
I don't know what I hate more.
So stupid.
Him wearing 2 gloves or Charlie Hoffman's green glove. Right. What's worse? I've always hated Charlie Hoffman's green glove, especially when he wears like a shirt that doesn't match the green glove. Like it just stands out like a sore thumb to me.
Yeah, it does for sure.
So what's worse? I don't know.
2 gloves is pretty douchey.
Yeah. I would never get caught wearing 2 gloves.
No,
not at all. All right. So anybody else down here? Does Taylor Moore, Cage? We mentioned Cage Lee's name with Wyndham Clark. Cage Lee still sitting down here in the low 7s, while Windy, is in the mid 9s now. Any of these other names down here interest you at all? Tom Hoagie.
I love me some Taylor Moore always. I just think the dude's going to be a really good golfer. Andrew Putnam has actually been really good. I think Putnam's probably a guy that I'm going to play for sure. He's just been, it doesn't matter, like easy fields, strong fields, it doesn't matter. He's been really good.
What about J2 Poston, another guy that finished second place here last year? Obviously, he had some missed cuts here before. He hasn't been great this year, obviously, but he has dabbled in a few decent. He had 10th at the Valspar. He made the cut at the PGA Championship and the Masters this year. Missed a cut at the U.S. Open, but was still putting pretty well. He's a really good putter. I'm just looking at if you really buy into that narrative of course history. Guy finished second place here last year. You can't ignore it, can you?
Yeah, no, I noticed the same thing. So he really pops on short courses, especially in the model. So I was looking at him today, and I was, I'm like, oh, he finished second last year. That means that's like a no-brainer play. And then I looked like, okay, recent form. 3 missed cuts in a row though before the T2. So I don't know. I worry about him. I'm probably not going to play him, to be honest.
Okay. So into the 6K range, because I think there's actually plenty of names. Like I've got literally in my maybe list here, I got 10 names listed in the 6K range right now. Because that's how much I think there's some really good things. But it starts right at 6,900 with Mr. Hubby Hubbard.
Oh, I love Hubbard.
Yeah, how can you not like Mark? I bet him to win a couple weeks ago, and he almost did win. I'm all over Mark Hubbard. He'll get normally in the 6K range. You never get more than 3 clicks. In the 6K range in my model, I pick like 5 guys. I give 2 clicks, most of them, some by 3. There's a chance Mark Hubbard might get 5 clicks for me in this range.
I think he may be popular, so I think that's the only drawback.
He's definitely going to be popular down.
The other one is Lee Hodges too. I think Lee Hodges, same thing. He's been like Lee Hodges has been in really good form lately. I mean, T25 at the RBC Canadian, T12 at the Memorial, 29th at Charles Schwab. He's been really solid, but I think he's going to be super popular. One interesting one for me, who I used to play all the time, and obviously he's been horrible, but he's been better lately, is Doug Ginn. Good approach guy. Like he's been in a lot better form. I mean, T12 at the RBC Canadian and then T19 at the Byron Nelson. So he's interesting to me too, especially if his ownership's down.
So just to give you a thing, Lee Hodges right now, again, all these are early ownership projections. Lee Hodges is projected at 4.9%.
Oh, that's really low.
Again, is at 7.3%. And I've almost just scared myself away from Mark. I know I say I don't care about ownership percentage, but he's projected at 13.9% right now.
That's the spot where ownership matters too. Like ownership, who cares about ownership with the good guys? Play the good players who you want to play. But when you talk about under 7K, I mean, like
you got to worry about it, don't you?
Yeah.
You have to at this point. All right, so some other names. Michael Kim's a name that I always seem to like. Kevin Streelman's not a name I like, but he's got a really good course history here. And it's kind of like one of those guys. He's missed a bunch of cuts. He 49th at the U.S. Open. He did have a really good showing at the Charles Schwab, but he's missed like 6 cuts this year. And I just Kevin Streelman and Kevin Kistner. They're 2 guys that just seem to really play well at this course all the time.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes me want to lean their way, but also I don't know. I sometimes think I put too much stock into course history on bad players.
So I don't put much into course history really ever. But Streelman's one of those guys that, like, he reminds me, obviously he's not the same talent level as Bubba, but, like, remember when Bubba had, this was actually one of them, but had courses that you just played Bubba on?
Yeah,
Streelman's kind of like that too. It's like he plays well on, like, 4 courses. Just play him on those 4 courses.
Okay. What about, so a couple, again, all these guys that I like in the 6K range, almost all of it is because of course history, except for Michael Kim, who's missed 4 straight cuts at this event. But Streelman, let's see here. You got Ches Reavie has won this event and has an 8th place last year at this event at 6,700. Dylan Wu is actually better than Brandon Wu, and I don't think people realize it. And I don't think that the DraftKings market have realized that Dylan Wu is better than Brandon Wu.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. Let me ask you a question. So when you're going into your 6K guys, what's the most important factor that you look for when finding your 6K guys?
Okay, so I'm looking at 2 things specifically. Okay. I'm looking in 6K is where I care about the course history the most, because you got to find somebody that nobody else has. So someone like Streelman, has good course history. Someone like, here's a name for you. He's at 6,100. He's terrible in my model. Okay. He's 122nd in my model. Robert Streb. But Robert Streb has, where is he here? Last year, 35th. The year before that, 19th. So he's got 3 top 35s the last 4 years he's played here. So he's played here really well. So that's one thing that I'm looking for. The other thing I look for in the 6K range is you have to pop in one of my 3 most important categories. So like this week, off the tee, not driving, distance or accuracy, approach, and tee to green. They're the 3 things I'm zoning in. Somebody better be really good at one of those 3 categories. Or say putting's important one week, really important. If somebody's a top 10 putter and they're in the 6K, they're going to make it. You have to pop in one statistical category really well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that one. I think that's the nail on the head right there. I feel like you got to do one thing really good. And when you look like at this week, JT Poston, so he's first in par 4s from 400 to 450, which there's 8 of them on the course. He is 10th in tee to green and 16th in approach. Like that seems to me like a reason why you play. I know he's not under 7K, but he is 7K even. That seems like a guy that sticks out. Like,
yeah, well, that's like Mark Hubbard. Mark Hubbard's 10th in approach in the last 36 rounds. He's 6,900. That pops right there. He's 29th tee to green. That sort of pops right there. Let me resort this by tee to green. See if anybody's top in tee to green. Your top 6K guy tee to green, Samuel Stevens. He's top 25 in 3 categories: ball striking, tee to green, and off the tee, and he's 6,800. So that pops 3 things for me right there, and I like that a lot. You know what I mean? Actually, Garrett Higo, he's not. Let me look him up actually now. He's 7th off the tee over the last 36 rounds compared to the field. So that's one of my key categories. He didn't play the U.S. Open. He's missed 1 cut three events ago. I mean, he's not doing anything spectacular to make you want to play him, but that's normally what I'm looking for first is one key pop. And then he just popped one name just popped. So then I looked into him like, yeah, okay. I don't know why he popped. So we're not going to play him, but that's what I'm looking for before I start looking into, because I got Streb at 6,100. I got Kevin Kistner listed at 6,100 or 6,200. Kevin Tway at 6,200. Kevin Tway had a really good start to the season, and he kind of tailed off a little bit, but he's got really good course history here. He pops in nothing in anybody's model, and he's missed a boatload of cuts lately. But earlier this year, he was on a run. So
the only thing with him is that he is a bomber, and that's obviously neutralized at this course because the driving distance is so short.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm not saying I'm giving Kevin Tway 1 click yet, but there is something about Kevin Tway made me look because he's got the good course history, and you got to look at him. I don't know. I'm really, normally this show makes me feel better about who I'm clicking and not clicking. I think I've created more questions for myself this week than I have answers for this week.
Right.
I really wanted to load up on Jon Rahm, But now I'm thinking that John Rahm, Mark Hubbard combo, can I really do that when Mark Hubbard's going to have a higher ownership percentage than John Rahm potentially?
That's wild.
That's like really
Well, that
wild.
kind of neutralizes each other too, though. You have a lower owned ROM and a higher owned. I just don't like playing chalky guys at the bottom.
So I did do one test build before the show started, just to kind of get a feel what John Rahm in a lineup was going to look like. And I did John Rahm and Mark Hubbard. They were my first 2 clicks. Then I went Justin Sue and Eckroat as my next 2 clicks. And then I went Tagala and I went Tommy Fleetwood. It left me 200 on the table. Now there's a lot of chalk in there and a little bit of not chalk in there. And I don't want to play Tommy Fleetwood. So I could hypothetically take Tommy Fleetwood out, and that would give me an option to put Wyndham Clark or Ricky Fowler, or maybe I can drop Fleetwood down and then I can upgrade somebody else on that card somewhere. But John Rahm and Mark Hubbard still leaves you with enough room to play an 8 and a 9K guy.
Are you surprised that Tommy Fleetwood is projected to be higher ownership than Morikawa, Finau, and Hovland? Because I am a little.
No, and I think his ownership is going to where we keep talking about these guys' ownerships will probably go up. I kind of feel like Tommy Fleetwood's will go down. Right now, the top guys, there's 3, so they always put the guys over 15% in red. There's only 5 guys listed over 15% so far. Henley, Cantley, Fleetwood, Eckroat, and Siwoo Kim. They're your top 5 guys right now. And I just can't see that. I can't see Scotty Scheffler not jumping up closer to 20%. I can't see Xander Schauffele staying under 15%. I can't see Victor Hovland staying under 14%. So these numbers are going to flip a little bit by Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what's going to be the key this week is waiting to see. Like, I like to just keep reset. Like, if there's a number I like or a guy I like, I just keep refreshing it every 6 hours and watch how that number goes up or down and try to watch it. Somebody's got to create an ownership projection trend tool, like where it shows throughout the week as it's getting closer to lineups locking where their projections are going. I think that would be a really FantasyNational.com.
FanshareSports.com.
Fanshare's got that?
No, fuck them.
No, yeah. They're dead to me. Dead to me. Anyway, so you said you already bet Tagala. Did you bet anybody else this week?
I did. So I have 4 bets. The first one's really boring. Can't lay 10-1. But I bet Tom Kim 35-1. I like those odds. Harris English 60-1, and then Tagala at 65-1.
Who was 60? I'm sorry, who was 60-1?
Harris English, and then Tagala.
That's man, Harris English. I don't want Harris. He's going to be played on DraftKings for me, but I don't want to.
He's just a boring dude. He really is.
He does not look like a dude that I would want to go have a beer with.
No.
He just looks like just such a boring guy.
Whereas Tagala, if you watch Full Swing about Tagala, he just seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. I was trying to look somebody else up here while you were saying your bets. And Tom Kim this year, came out with a ball of fire. You know what I mean? He won at Shriners last year and Wyndham last year, and then came out this year, had a bunch of top 10s and stuff like that, but kind of hit a brick wall. And then came out the U.S. Open and finished in 8th place.
It's the kind of course, though, that he would just tear off, right?
Yeah, he's got a redemption story. His arc was missing cuts and falling off and not living up to the hype. Maybe now that he's kind of on the downward trend again, maybe this is a Tom Kim week. I do like Tom Kim. I like that bet a lot, actually, that you have.
I wish the odds were a little bit better. I saw people get him at 50, but
right.
I'll still take that.
So I have literally more outright bets than I've ever placed before. But I've spent less than my average amount normally.
I also love a lot of your bets for the record.
I just went all out. So normally I bet if I bet 1, 2, 3 units on a golfer, and I'll bet 5 guys. I've got 8 guys. Now I did bet Max Homa 40-1 because I was a sucker for Max Homa. I'm always a sucker for Max Homa. Brian Harman 55-1. I think that's a really solid bet. Again, like you, I have Tagala 65-1. But then I just went half and quarter units on a boatload of long shots because Eric Cole 130-1, Benny On 130-1. I mean, how can you not lay a $1.50 or something like that, on those guys, a small bet, and you really make up. Mark Hubbard 150-1. I love it. You bet $1 and you've covered 3 weeks worth of bets and DFS lineups.
Yep.
Justin Sue 150-1. Another guy that could go low here. And then, Rick, we just said it. Dylan Wu's better than Brandon Wu. And nobody knows it. And he is 300-1 to win this event. Is he going to win? Probably not. But there have been worse golfers at 300-1 win golf tournaments before.
Oh, for sure.
Just look, Cole, On, Hubbard, Sue, Wu, ranging from 130 to 300-1. And I bet combined less than 2 units on all those guys. Just because I want to take some long shots and throw darts. Do I think they're going to win? No. But, man, I bet 8 of the 140-some golfers in the field. One of them's got to win, right?
For sure. Especially if you said they're going to win.
Yeah. I mean, I've only got 3 outrights this year. Sorry. My bad, How many outrights you hit this year?
Don't worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. You like to keep your bets to –
I'm a really bad bettor at golf. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not good at it. So
am I. Outside of outrights, I'm very bad at it. That's why I don't think I did one placement parlay last week. So actually, I haven't even looked at my play. Did Ryan Fox make the cut last week?
Oh, I don't even know.
He did. Patrick Reed is what killed my parlay last week.
What a disappointment Patrick Reed was.
Oh. I know he didn't finish top 30.
Between Patrick Reed and Justin Rose, they killed us.
Yeah, I didn't have any Justin Rose last week. So
I had a shit ton.
Yeah, I had 0. Justin Rose. All right, so guns to your head. Who's winning this week? Is it going to be one of the top guys, or is it going to be one of these guys for really when you get down to it, the nitty gritty? I really truly think that Jon Rahm is actually the guy that's going to win. But I spent way too much money on Scotty Scheffler 10-1 last week, where I can't bet another 10-1 guy. You know what I mean? Unless DraftKings drops me a plus 300 or something like that, I just can't do it.
I'm gonna agree with you, Jon Rahm.
I think Jon Rahm 21 under wins this tournament.
Yep. 21. I like it. I was thinking 20, so we're right in the same ballpark.
21 under. If somebody wants to give me exact odds, I know you could bet a football game with exact odds, exact score. Someone find me 21 under odds on Jon Rahm.
Yeah,
I'm throwing it because I'm calling my shot this week right there. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good week. What's next week's event? Obviously, it's not elevated next week, right? We're still 2 weeks away from the Open, a few weeks away from the Open Championship. And those guys always go over to Europe before the Open Championship.
You know that next week's field is going to be just brutal. I don't even know what the event is. But
I can't wait. I need 2 weeks of brutal fields.
I don't care. It's so funny. People get so upset when the fields are bad. Money's still money, right?
Yeah, you can still. I need Mark Hubbard at $9,700 next week. That's what I need. You know what I mean? Yeah. I need Mark Hubbard 9,700 10-1 next week.
Just to make you feel like you're going to throw up when you make a lineup. Yeah.
I mean, and I'll probably click Mark Hubbard 97 times next week. Anyway, we're going to wrap up Fairway to Heaven right there tonight. Again, we both are in agreement, which is really weird. Full agreement that Jon Rahm is winning this week. We're just not betting him because of the numbers. Even though you did bet Patrick Cantlay at low numbers, right?
I did. So, disclaimer.
I kind of hate betting those low number guys.
You know why? Okay, so I bet him because I think I'm going to stay away from him in DFS. So I was kind of hedging myself. Chicken. But
that's kind of what I'm thinking with Max. On a side note, I know I just said we're going to wrap this up. Everybody gives crap to Patrick Cantlay for his slow play, right? Is that part of why we hate it, the U.S. Open? Because Windy ain't no speed demon out there on the course. And I think his putting philosophy, where he lines it up, his caddy's behind him, then he lines it up again, then he's got to get off because you got to back off when the caddy's behind. It's a process, and he does it exactly the same every time.
It was kind of karma. It was almost like poetic justice, though, at the end, that he had to wait a few times. Remember when Rory hit that one that was embedded in the bunker and he had to wait 5 minutes to shoot?
Dude, can I say how frustrating I feel that rule that Rory got to move that out of the bunker?
First of all,
they did change that rule just last year.
Golf rules are so stupid. Some golf rules are so stupid. You shoot a horrible shot and then you get Rory's that went in the bunker. You can't find it. But yet at the same time, Wyndham Clark has to play it in the weeds that are 4 feet high.
Come on now. You know how many times I've tried to improve a lie just because I'm not playing for big money. I don't need to hit out of that. And my playing partner's no. Play the ball as it lies. And I chunk the ball 2 inches. You know what I mean?
Don't you hate how it's I hate rules that are subjective. I like rules that are this is the rule and this is the this is not the rule. It's like the catch in the NFL. It's what's a catch anymore?
Well, what's a playable and what's an unplayable golf ball anymore?
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, Rory's was unplayable, and was given free relief.
Wyndham Clarkson at 8-foot weed, but don't worry about that. He can stand on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Windy's slow pace of play is eventually going to turn into Patrick Cantley hate right there. I'm just going to say it right now.
It feels like now that he's like getting good, it'll get more attention.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of attention. Could you imagine a guy like Windy that's been a fringe player for how many years now? The attention that he's got to be getting now. Like, he probably doesn't even know how to handle the media pressure of this.
Seems like a great dude. Like, just.
He's got a cool name. Windy's a cool name, but I don't know. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up right there. Fairway to Heaven, right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. Like I said earlier in the show, like, share, retweet, subscribe, follow, turn notifications on. You know it, the works. If you got any questions, send us messages. Beard of Knowledge for me, JSully2121 for Jason on Twitter. We'll answer any of your questions. And if you're watching on replay, I will go back and check all the comments. As I say, this is why I check the comments on replays, because then I see comments like this pop up on the show the other day where this is the guy that why Philly fans are called a-holes. Like, I save this now and I bring it up every show, Jason, just to remind people that I'm the reason why everybody hates Philly sports fans. Me.
So that was on a show?
It was in the replay. Somebody watched the replays of my show, but they literally watched the entire show because the 3 different things they commented on were at 3 different segments of the show over the course of 80 minutes. So he watched, or she, I don't know, Honey Bunnies. I've looked him up. He's got a Twitter account. He's got 1 follower and like 3 following. Like, don't know who this person is. Honey Bunnies. He thinks I'm the reason why people hate Philly fans. But
I do. Is it Johnny Uleka? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh man. No, I don't think that's who it is. Anyway. But that proves I go back and I check all the comments. No. We're leaving it in there. No, we're leaving that in there for sure. 110%. Anyway, everybody, if you leave comments, I will go back and check them. Everybody have a great night. We'll be back next week for whatever tournament it is, because we don't even know what it is. We still won't be an elevated event, and that's all that matters. So for Jason Sullivan, I am Phil Stiefel. You all have a great night, and we'll see you next week.